So given that most of you, well, yeah, you all know me, I'm not going to bang on too much about the obvious stuff, which is, don't push yourself through anything that doesn't feel right, because if it doesn't feel right, probably isn't. Sit anything out that you need to, and feedback after. But otherwise, let's just get moving. So we're going to start on all fours. The cat's stolen my mat. Come here, cat. Bugger off. Ah, dear. Right. So starting off in all fours, well, actually, starting off with your bottom on your heels and your arms or hands out in front of you. So you're going to keep your bottom stuck to your heels. We're going to start off with some rotation. So taking the right hand just loosely behind the head. You're going to bring your right elbow to your right wrist and then take it up to the sky. And you're trying to keep your hips still. The rotation wants to come from your rib cage and your upper back. And then elbow to wrist and elbow to sky. So starting off nice and steady. I'm using the bottom hand as I rotate up to the sky. I'm pushing with the bottom hand out to the side to increase the amount of rotation that I get up towards the ceiling. So opening out, you can look up. My head's kind of going with it. So as I turn to look up at the ceiling, I'm looking up at my elbow. We go one more. And then release, and then you're going to take your arm, back of your hand onto your lower back. So the cheat with this one is very much, as you rotate, your wrist is going to bend. So you're going to finish up with this kind of action. Yeah, so you want to keep your wrist flat. So the same thing, you're going to take your front of the shoulder forward, and then you're opening it up to the sky without letting the wrist bend. Remember, the rotation's coming from the chest. So it's not going to be, well, I'll give you my experience as I'm doing this. It feels icky. It feels sticky and tight and not very much movement at all. And it's just because we've put the arm and the shoulder in a different position. But you still want to have that sense of pushing the floor away with your bottom hand to try and push yourself around that little bit further, but without cheating with the wrist. And we go one more. And release. And then bring the hands back down in front, bring them to the middle. So this time the arm's going to be extended. So we're opening up to the sky, and make sure your hand is pointing to the sky. It's kind of not all over the place. Pointing up to the sky, and then again, push yourself around into more rotation, and then close back down. A couple more here, opening out. There's a lot of rotation in these sessions, trying to get the upper back moving. I'm going to do one more here. Big open, up to the sky. And release, and then just switch hands. Opposite hand goes lightly behind the head, no cranking on the neck. Elbow comes down to opposite wrist or forearm, wherever you can reach, and then opening up to the sky. Same thing, keep moving through it. Just notice if you've got one side that feels tighter than the other or slightly less awesome than the opposite side. I've just found mine. So opening out, this side's very sticky. And then switch to the internal rotation of the arm. So back of the hand or back of the wrist coming onto the lower back. Same thing, drop in the front of the shoulder and then opening. And you're opening from the chest, keeping the wrist nice and flat on the lower back. Again, it doesn't feel, well, some of you might have bigger range of movement than I've got, but it doesn't feel like a particularly big movement, this one. But still just as effective. Two more. And last one, opening out. And then same thing, hand comes back down in front. And we go for a full arm opening. So left arm up to the sky, push with the bottom hand, see how far you can rotate, close it back down, opening up to the sky, closing back down. One more time, opening out, and closing back down. And then we come into all fours. I'm just going to come into some wrist stretches. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips, usual story. I'm going to turn the hands so the fingertips are pointing out to the side, nice and wide through the shoulder blades, and then just rock the body from side to side. Nice and gentle to start with. Nice and gentle, full stop. So when we do wrist stretches, there's a nasty habit for most people of tucking the tail under and hunching the shoulders, because you can try it if you want. It takes all the stress out of the wrists. So see if you can untuck the tail, keep the chest lifted, the shoulder blades wide, and space between your shoulders and your ears. So just side to side to start with. And then same again, we're going to sit your butt back on your heels. And this time you're going to turn your hands around. So my fingertips are just kind of touching the front of my knees, and my wrists are pointing out in front of me. So it's a reverse wrist stretch, yeah? So the way I'm going to stretch my wrists with this is I'm going to bring my body weight forward and backwards. So I'm lifting my bottom off my heels and then plonking it back down. Again, nice and gentle. It's a big forearm stretch. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, see if you can straighten your thumb and move it out. Your thumb's probably glued to the mat going, nah, not tonight, Josephine, no. So see what you could do with your thumb. It adds to the stretch. And then from there, I'm going to go the other way. So this time you're going to tuck the very tips of your fingers just under the front of your knees, not like under, but just so you can feel that your knees are touching your fingers. And then it's the same thing. You're going to use your body weight coming forward to lay the backs of the hands down. So what you don't want to do is this. Look like a bulldog with your elbows out to the side and your shoulders hunched up, right? So I'm going to lay the backs of my hands down by bringing my body weight forward. That makes sense? Yeah. And then peeling the back of the hand up as I sit back. I'm laying the backs of the hands down to the points of my wrists. And the further forward you go, the less stretch you get, so you can rock back. So I'm taking my body weight back and holding on to the very last moment to peel my wrists and my hands and my fingertips well, backs of my fingers up. Yeah, so you've got total control over how much you feel this stretch and mobility into the wrists. We're going to do one more. Use the body weight coming forward. And then keep the back of the wrist down as long as possible as you sit your weight back. And then release. So we're going to come into a rhomboid push-up, dead simple rhomboid push-up to start with. Make sure you're in a good old fours position. Tail untucked, toes tucked at the back. And just dead simple to start with, allowing the shoulder blades to come together at the back. And then push the floor away to take them wide. Shoulder blades come together, shoulder blades go wide. And just watch again that you're not here. So you've not shortened your neck to get your shoulder blades to move. You want to keep space between your ears and your shoulders. And you want to watch as well, this is difficult to tell, but you don't want to come so far up that you take it into a hump, right? So no camelbacks. See if you can find that space where you hit the top, the shoulder blades are wide, but before you get the spine involved. Couple more. Make sure your tail's untucked. You can see some curling under there. And last one. And then from there, gather yourself and hover your knees an inch off the mat. Not even that. You've almost like you can still feel your clothing kind of sweeping the mat. This teeny tiny move. You might not even be able to see, or well, you won't be able to see me move very much. And then lower back down. So this time, what I want you to do is you're going to come back to the bottom of your rhomboid push-up. So you're going to allow the shoulder blades to come together. You're going to push the floor away, take them wide. Continue pushing the floor away to hover the knees. And then lower the knees and allow the shoulder blades to come together. So we're just adding in shoulder blades into core. So again, shoulder blades come together. They go wide, and as you finish the widening, you hover the knees. As the knees touch back down, you bring the shoulder blades together. So lifting and lowering. Just using the center in conjunction with your shoulder blade movement on your back. And then on this next one, you're going to hold at the top of the position. So you're going to hold with the knees hovered off the mat. Breathe. Now you can either hold if this is too much, or you do your rhomboid push-up here. So how much control do you have of your shoulder blades while you're working everything else? So shoulder blades come together even, and shoulder blades come apart. Holding the plank. Nothing else changes, just the shoulder blades. The last one, and then release. You come off your wrist for a moment. If you need to clasp your hands together and roll the wrist just for some relief, feel free. You can do that while I put my hair up out of the way. And to the hairdressers today, I'm loath to put my hair up and put a kink in it. She did such a good job, but I can't see. Hey, right, where are we? So, those of you who've done my morning sessions will know what an underswitch is, but I'm going to run through an underswitch because I want us to be able to go from this 4-point kneeling position to a crab position. So it's an underswitch, the leg goes under the body, right? So if I was to do a left leg underswitch from all fours, I've hovered the knees. I'm just making it bigger so you can see. The left leg is going to pick up, it's going to come through underneath. Right hand's going to lift. I'm going to come all the way over. I'm going to finish up in this crab position. Yeah, have a go. So we'll go left leg under switch first. Hover the knees. Bring the left leg under, the right arm over. And you finish up in a capital M shape with your bottom on the floor, right? And going back to the same thing. So left leg goes under. So pick up your right hand, bring it across the body. Left leg goes under and you pivot back to your hover. Then you could drop your knees. Beautiful. Yeah. So the idea is that you keep it quite compact. So if I stop making it big now, I'm keeping it more compact as I move. The big stuff is great to start with, but see if you can make it more refined and smaller. So try the other side. Right leg goes through, under. Hand comes over, and you drop your butt down into a crab. Then going back, left hand picks up, comes across, right leg goes under, and you pivot back either to your hover or onto your knees. Are we all roughly okay with that? Doesn't need to look pretty today, it's just a transition, yeah? All right, so we're gonna start off where we were here in our, we'll call it a 4-point hover, I suppose. So from your hover there, hover the knees, we go left leg under switch to crab. So all the way through, drop the hips and just get organized. Fingertips pointing backwards, feet slightly wider than hip distance because we are going to bridge from here. And then take your bottom towards your heels, which leaves your arms further back behind you, obviously, yeah? And so from there, we're going to do the same sort of rhomboidy stuff. You're going to shrug the shoulders up to the ears, pull them back, pull them down, and bring them forward. It's just a circle. It's just a circle with the shoulder blades. Shoulders to ears, shoulders back, shoulders down and around. So at the moment, I'm circling backwards. And I'm going to circle forwards. Ooh, sticky. So I've got one way that's smooth and one way that's like a ratchet. And then lift the chest, pull your hips back so you're roughly centered. Keep the chest high and going to lift the hips up into a bridge. You want to have a look down your body and make sure you've got your butt's not dangling. You're nice and lifted through the hips. And then you're going to rock forward and back. So again, it's just a shoulder opener. Squeeze the glutes, lift the hips higher. No dangly bottoms. And I'm pulling and pushing with the feet. So I get my hamstrings involved. And I'm using the glutes, giving them a good squeeze to keep me lifted. Nicely done. Lower the hips in the middle. We're going to take that left leg under switch back to your hover, and we're going to go straight to the other side. So the left leg's going to go under your body. So right hand picks up, comes across, lift yourself up. Left leg comes under, you come back to your hover, jiggery-pokery with the legs if you need to get into a better position. And then right leg goes under, back to your crab position. Again, reorganize the hands if you need to. I'm just going to turn slightly so I can see you guys. And we're going to go straight into the bridge again. So lift up into your bridge. Opening the hips. Gentle rock forward and back. We go 3, 2, and 1. Lower the hips right in the middle this time and go back through to our 4-point hover. So it's going to be right leg under switch. So left hand comes across, lift your hips up off the floor, bring the right leg under, and you're back to your hover, and then you can place your knees down. So we're going to continue with the shoulder stretching. Charlotte's already done this, but it takes me a minute to kind of explain where we're at. So you want a 45 degree. So if I'm on the front of my mat and I'm using my right hand, 12 o'clock could be straight overhead, 3 o'clock could be straight out to the side. We want about 7.5 minutes past. That makes any sense whatsoever. Palm down, and I'm going to walk the hand away. So I'm using my fingertips just to walk the hand away, put some traction on my shoulder. And then I'm going to start to use the left hand to push me around. So I'm going to shift my hips away from my shoulder. And I'm going to start to shift and shift until I can twist my pelvis away from the floor. The legs are split. And I'm supporting myself with my left hand. So I'm rolling away from that shoulder. I'm kind of rolling back on myself, using my legs for support. If you want a little bit of an addition, you could take the top arm to the sky, but just be gentle with yourself. It's quite a big shoulder stretch, chest stretch, depending on how tight you are. And then slowly unravel yourself. So bring the legs back through, roll back onto your tummy, and then we're going to switch sides. So just reorganize on your mat if you need to. So again, it's going to be 7.5 minutes to on the opposite side. Put some traction on, walk the fingers away. Right hand's going to use to push. And I'm just kind of walking my hips around so that I can find a position where I can twist and turn. And I'm taking what is my right leg back and my left leg forward this time. So splitting the legs. And again, you'll find, you know, which side is tighter, which side feels more miserable. I'm reaching my top leg back as far as it will go. And then slowly release. And then we're going to flow a little bit on these next ones. So 3 o'clock with the right hand, so straight out from your shoulder. And it's a different leg position this time. So as you roll over, my top leg is going to point up to the sky. So my top knee is pointing up to the sky. And I'm rolling my hips as far as I can. You can keep the left hand on the floor if you wish to help push you a little bit further. And then rolling back through. So same again on the other side, straight out to the side, roll the hips, use the opposite hand to push. The right knee is now pointing up to the sky. You've rolled onto your shoulder. Dead gentle. Good, good. And then roll it back. All right, so on this one, I'll show you from the front if I can. What tends to happen as you roll is the front of the shoulder just drops into the mat. And that's not like it's a bad thing per se, but this time when the cat shifts, I want you to roll your shoulder away from the mat. So the front of my shoulder, I'm actively lifting it away from the mat. And then as I roll, I'm keeping it lifted away from the mat. You'll find you can't go as far and you'll feel a deeper stretch. Okay, so right arm straight out to the side. Roll the front of the shoulder away from the mat. So literally picking it up and taking it away from the mat. And then rolling there and seeing how far you get. And if you're keeping the front of the shoulder away from the mat as best you can, you'll feel a deeper stretch, depends, chest, bicep, etc. And then release, and we're going to go straight to the other side. So hands straight out to the side, pick up the front of the shoulder, twist yourself over. Yeah, dead gentle, don't go too far, especially if you've got any shoulder kind of crap going on. It's a great chest stretch. Think of the cats on my hip. You can't stay there, cat. And then slowly release out of that. I'm just going to turn back round onto my mat. So we're just going to go side to side. So again, right arm out. Twist, make sure the front of the shoulder's lifting up. Back through to the other side, straight over. Knee to the ceiling. opening out the front of the hip as well. So lots of rotation, nice chest stretch. I say nice. I like it. It's optional to kiss your cat on the way through. And then slowly release out of that. And we're going to come into Cobra. Yes, we are. So bring the hands underneath the shoulders. So little mini Cobra, lifting the chest, nice and active through the legs, about hip distance apart, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, freeing off the neck. Just make sure you can move your neck and you're not holding tension. And you're going to lower it almost all the way down to the ground, and then we're going to come up into a 90-90. So you're going to press the floor away. The right leg is going to come over the left leg, and I push myself up to a seated position with the legs in a 90-90 position. Yeah? So when you go back down to the mat, left hand comes down, and reach with the right hand. So you're putting them back where they were originally. So you feel that rotation first. The right leg comes over, the left leg comes down, and you switch. Get off me, you little horror. And then we switch to the side. So left leg comes over, find the rotation, and then come up into your 90-90. Good, good. So we're going to flow through side to side. Just rotating, see if you can get it to flow. Nothing too exciting. When you come up, you can finish it off by just adding in that rotation. So I'm keeping going and rotating around to the back leg. But otherwise, I'm just finding that 90-90, one leg internally rotated, one leg externally rotated, moving through. It's a nice flow for the hips. Again, more rotation. And this next one, come up and stay up. And then you're going to take the legs in front. So just going to do some windscreen wipers. So wideish legs, slight bend in the knee, hands kickstand behind you, and just side to side with the legs. So dead simple to start with. Simple, at least easy. Find yourself walking away on the mat. And then again, find that 90-90 position as best you can. And if you need your hands to kickstand, that's fine, but as much as you can sit up. And you want to make sure that the back hip hasn't rolled with you, so your pelvis isn't lifted. Try and sit your hip back down into the floor so that you actually get the thigh internally rotated. And then we're going to switch from there. So you're going to try and stay as upright as you can. Switch to 90-90 on the other side. And so on and so forth. You might find your legs move away from you. Drag them back in. Couple more there. I'm moving forward on my mat as always. And make that your last one. And then find as close to 90-90 as you can get so that you can still stay upright. So you might need to narrow those angles a little bit. In other words, pull your feet closer to your body, but whatever works, sit that back hip down as best you can. You will have to lean, you may have to kickstand, but we're going to pick up our back leg. So you're going to lift it up. It's called 90-90 pushback. You're going to push that leg back behind your body and then bring it forward. But the focus is very much on the back. So like I'm kicking back, legs hovering off the ground. Like I say, you might, I've seen some people need to be here on their elbow to be able to get the leg off the floor or to be leaning right out. But eventually, if you can get more upright, that would be good. I'm bleeding. My ankle is actually bleeding. She hates it when I do these sessions. And you might get crampy, horrible feeling in the leg, hip, etc. It's normal. Last two. Last one. And release the leg back down. And then same again, switch sides, preferably without hands if you can. Find your 90-90 on that side. Same thing, foot is flexed, you lift the back leg. You're trying to get the thigh bone to move back behind your body. So a lot of work in the glute. There should be a lot of work in the glute. Give it a squeeze. And make sure it's not your body that's moving, that it's actually your thigh bone. There'll be all sorts going on. Your leg and your knee will want to move. It's the thigh bone in the hip socket. Teeny tiny movement. Last couple. Last one. And release the leg down. And then come into a wide position with the legs. So straddle stretch, toes pointing up. And then from there, we're going to bend the knees slightly and let the legs flip over. So what's happening is I'm turning the legs to one side, turning the legs to one side. What I'm doing is creating a shin box. So shin box is just as it sounds. Well, I say just as it sounds. If I was to turn this way, so one shin creates the horizontal, one shin creates the vertical. So you've got this right angle. Come back to where I was. And my foot is hugging my knee. Now, as I come back out, because I want to switch sides, I'm going to come back out, but I'm going to push back out to that straddle stretch first. And as I come back through to the straddle stretch, try to get up on my sit bones and hinge forward slightly from the chest. Yeah, so hinging forward from the hips, obviously, but keeping the chest lifted, is what I'm saying. So slight bend in the knee so that you can switch the legs to the other side. And then as you pick the knees back up, you're pushing out into your straddle stretch and kind of aiming to go wider every time. In other words, don't let them come in. Now we're going to set the hands out in front so you can't use them. Bend, come over, back out to your straddle stretch, hinge forward at the chest, well, hips, keeping the chest lifted, slight bend, legs to one side, back out to your straddle stretch, lift the chest and hinge forward. Slight bend, over we go. Back out to straddle. I did say we've got a shin box, didn't I? I'll do that in a minute. Over we go. Back out to straddle. This is more of a 90-90 version. And back over. Let's add in the shin box on this side. So I'm going to press out to straddle and then bend all the way in. So you've got your shin box. And we're going to use the arms. So you rotate in towards the front leg. Yeah, so if I've got my legs pointing to the right, it's my right arm that's going to open. I'm going to twist the body through, close the arms back off, pick up the knees, go back out to straddle, hinge forward as you come through, slight bend of the knee, drag them all the way in, shin box, and then open towards that front leg, twisting all the way around as far as you can go. You will have one side that's easier than the other. Close the arms, back out to straddle, hinge forward, bending the knees, pull them in as you go, opening the chest, opening to a twist, close, back out to straddle. Is everybody else walking the way forward? I'm coming close to the camera here. Open. One last time. Back through straddle, hinge forward. Shin box, rotate, and release. And I'm just going to walk my way back on. So whichever way you've landed with your shin box, so if your knees are kind of pointing off to the right, that's the way you're going to go. Right elbow is going to come down to the floor. Fingertips pointing away. Again, yeah, even more rotation. So arm out in front, leading with the thumb. You're going to take the arm in a big circle overhead. As the arm goes behind you, open the chest to the ceiling. Big, 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 big circle. All the way around until it comes back in front. And then you're going to thread the needle. You're going to thread the needle palm up, right? So arm goes through. You are palm up towards the ceiling. See how far you can go. And you're going to lean away from your reaching fingers and breathe. slowly unravel yourself. You've got one more to do. The arm's going to make a big rotation. So you find that rotation opening out to the ceiling first, coming all the way around. And we thread the needle through, rotating the other way, palm up to the ceiling, and then lean away. So I'm kind of almost trying to lay my upper arm, back of the shoulder down on the mat. And then slowly release. And we'll come back through our straddle. So pick the legs up, straddle, and then switch to the other side. I'm just going to organize myself so I can see you guys. But otherwise, same thing. Elbow comes down to the mat, arm out in front, lead with the thumb in a big, 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 big circle. Take it all the way around, opening the chest here up to the sky. And then underneath, thread the needle, palm up towards the ceiling and lean away from your reaching fingers. Back of the shoulder, back of the arm, down towards the floor. Unthread, go again, leading with the thumb, big circle around, chest opens to the sky. Finish the circle and then thread it through, palm up, lean away. And then slowly come out of that. So sitting back up, shin box, whichever side, doesn't matter. Make sure you've got your shin box as it is. Chest pointing forward. So my chest is over or in line with my front shin. And then I'm going to pick up my back knee. So foot stays down, chest stays forward to start with, and I'm turning the thigh bone out in the hip socket and picking it up as far as it will go without moving anything else to start with. So I'm staying nice and upright. The more upright you are, the more your chest is in line with the front leg, the less range of movement you'll find you have in the back leg, and we'll free that off in a moment. But just for now, just see what range you do have, lifting the back leg up. And then we'll let the rest of the body get involved. So if I rotate towards that leg as it lifts, I'll be able to lift it up a bit higher. So all I'm doing is allowing my body to move so that I can get the knee almost to the ceiling on this side. Lifting and lowering, so turning it out and turning it in. So it's a bit more of a cheat, but you're still getting the external rotation and just adding in a body movement. But I am trying to stay relatively upright. You can obviously kickstand, but the more upright you are, the more you're supporting your own body weight, the more you're going to have to use the muscle strength, which builds better mobility. And then from there, again, you will need to lean a little bit. You're going to pick up the leg so it's just hovering off the floor. It will feel like it wants to glue itself to the floor. It is where it is. So it's hovering. And then we're going to turn thigh bone out so the knee points to the ceiling. And then going to turn the thigh bone in so the knee points to the floor. And it's this one that we're after. Ideally, you want your knee to be lower than your ankle bone. Turn the leg up and turn the leg down. This is where my entire body starts to quiver and shake in extreme unhappiness. Anybody got cramp yet in the hip? So you try and keep your foot off the floor best you can. Oh, I nearly got the ankle higher. I'm cheating with the rest of my body. Let the whole body go to try and get my ankle bone higher. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And make this your last one and lower it down, and then we'll switch sides. So again, switch sides without hands if you can. Form your shin box. This is my less awesome side. Chest directly in line with my front shin. And then you can see there is nothing happening when I pick up my back leg. So foot staying down, I'm just trying to pick up my knee as high as I can on this side. So there's things to notice when you've got an imbalance from, so nobody's perfect, nobody's symmetrical. We know that, that's okay. But if there's a big difference, a noticeable difference like mine from side to side, It's when you need to do something about it. Note to self, practice what I preach. Oh, how we do for time, good. All right, so same thing here. Allow your body to go with it, so you'll be able to pick it up a bit more. So literally all I'm doing is letting my body rotate, so I'm looking more at this knee, and then body rotates back to forward. So body rotates towards the knee, so it lifts a little bit higher, maybe, and body rotates back forward. And it might not, you might not get any more range. That's okay, comes with time. I'm not doing anything particularly with the hands at this moment. I'm using them really for sort of balancing myself a little bit. And again, if you need to kickstand, you can. Try and use your muscle strength to do this rather than leaning out of it. Good, you know what's coming. Lean away as much as you need to, quite a lot on this side. So hover the back leg up, and then we're going to turn it up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor. Up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor. Knee up, knee down. Exploring how much range of movement you've got in rotation at your hip joint, or lack thereof in my case. Last couple, mainly because I'm fed up. Last one, turn it in and then lower it down. And from there, you're going to come onto your knees again. I'm just going to do a quick quad stretch. So sitting your butt down on your heels as best you can. This might be a quad stretch for you if you tight through the quads. If you struggle to get the front of your ankles down, it's useful. You can put a towel, something underneath the ankles until they're loosening off enough for you to get here. And then from there, we're going to tent the hands behind us. Most of us will have seen this before. Make sure that you're pulling the shoulders back, the chest is lifted, chin's up, and you're going to tuck the tail under. So I'm not lifting my hips straight up off my heels. I'm actively tucking the tail under. So you should feel some work in the inner thighs. Glutes are engaged, and you're actively squeezing the glutes. But it's a tucking action rather lifting action. So lifting action would just be here, rib thrust, etc. Yeah, arched back. We don't want that. The movement is from a tucking action and release. So I'm squeezing the glutes, leading with the pubic bone. Don't get as much lift. You know, I've not really left my heels. I can almost feel my butt on my heels still. I'm still getting into the hip flexors and the quads. Last couple. And last one. And release back down. And then coming forward, coming into a 90-90 lunge position. Let's go right leg forward, left leg back, about hip distance apart, so you're not having to worry too much about balance. But make sure you are 90 degrees at the hip and the knee to start with. Sorry, itchy nose. And from here, we're going to taking it into a hip flexor lunge stretch. So you want to tuck the tail under, and even just tucking the tail is often enough to bring on a stretch in the front of the back leg. So tuck the tail, and then as though your pelvis is 3 points, the bony points of your pelvis are one plane, take them forward. So what you don't want to do is, as you come forward, is this action. So this is just lower back, yeah? Keep the tuck, shift forward. In other words, it won't be very big. Once you've got into that stretch, we're going to do a static contraction. So you're going to feel like nothing's going to move. You're going to pull your heel, your front heel back, and your front knee or back knee forward, like you're trying to bring the two together. So I'm contracting strongly and holding. Still got the tuck. Don't lose the tuck. Tuck even more. Keep pulling, keep contracting. Strong, 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 strong stretch. Then stop the contraction. Don't lose your tuck, and see if you can move further into that stretch without losing the tuck. And you might find you've got some range, you might not. And then push back and release, and I'm going to repeat on the other side. So left leg forward this time. You could be on the toes at the back if you're cramping in your foot as well, whichever. Same thing again. Start with the tucking action, which brings the stretch on usually into either the quad or the hip flex or the groin. Then see how much you can shift forward without losing the tuck, so not letting the pelvis go. And then same again from there. I'm going to contract quite strongly, heel pulling back, knee pulling forward, trying to bring the two together, still keeping the tuck, etc., etc. This back glute is squeezing, holding that hip flexor stretch. We go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the contraction and just see if you've got any more range now in that back hip. And then push back and release and switch sides. So we're just going to go into back into 90-90. It's going to be a hip flexor stretch into a hamstring stretch. So from here, you're going to drape your body over your thigh. So as you shift forward, I'm going to find the floor with my hands. My body weight is on my thigh. So my chest and my belly are on my thigh. And I'm going to use my body weight to mobilize my ankle joint. So I'm not bouncing, I'm backing off and then using my body weight to try and take my knee further, closer to the floor, backing off and closer to the floor. So I'm trying to mobilize into the ankle joints. It stretches out the Achilles and tissues at the back. So I'm getting rid of this hand just so you can see what I'm doing. Backing off and coming forward. One more time, and then we're going to flow through it. So hands are tented either side. Keep your body on your thigh. So you can stay in inflection. And I start to push back. I'm going to sit my bottom down towards my heel as far as I can. You can have your foot lifted if that's easier for you. Heel can come up, or toes can come up at the front, or they can stay down. The goal is not to straighten the leg. The goal is to keep your body on your thigh. If you can, have the back of your foot down on the floor and sit your hips or your bottom down on your heel. And I'm folded over that front leg, well, folded over both legs. And then we start to come back. So I'm keeping my body, so I'm staying in flexion, keeping my body on my leg. I'm not going to hang out here this time. I'm going to feel that stretch down the back, the mobility in the ankle. I'm going to push my body weight down to really get the ankle to, I don't know, give. That would be nice. And then I'm pushing back, sitting as back as far as I can. I'm keeping everything glued to my leg. So I'm still in flexion and coming forward. And then just feel free to just move it through it at your own speed. I know I need this part of it to mobilize the ankle. You might feel like you need this part of it. Sitting back and finding the hamstring stretch. Forward and back. Making this last one, wherever you are in that movement, doesn't really matter. We're going to come back up to our 90-90 position. And this time we're going to stay with the chest lifted. So it's going to be exactly the same, but instead of being in flexion, we're going to, well, I wouldn't call it extension, but we're going to be lifted. So same thing, lunge forward, keeping the chest up this time. You can bring the hands down and tent them if you want to feel some more work in the ankle, but the chest is lifted. And then as you start to push back, I'm going to sit down, and this time I will find hopefully a straight leg because I'm upright. And then you hinge you forward from the hips, so chest is staying lifted, so you get this more hamstring calfy kind of stuff going on. Same thing, you come back through, chest stays lifted. You can tent the fingers and lean forward, but the chest is up. Push back. Find the hamstring stretch again, keeping the chest up. It can be quite nervy. Big stretch into the hamstring and the calf, then coming forward. Again, if you want to tent the fingers so you get more body weight forward on the ankle, good. And then push back. Sinking down, leaning forward, chest high. Let's do one more, coming through. Coming back. And coming back to where we started from, switch your legs. Same thing, nice and high with the chest. Lunge forward. Tent the fingers if you wish. Found my tighter ankle. Oh, we've not done the flexion. Sorry, my fault. Come back up. I'm getting excited. I prefer the extended one. I don't like the flexion one. So same thing. You're going to drape your body over your leg and lean forward, and we'll do the ankle mobility again. So backing off and then increasing the stretch and keeping your body weight on your thigh. And same again, I'm just mobilizing into the ankle joint, using my body weight. Do a couple more. And then keeping your body on your thigh, start to sit back as far as you can go. You can lift the toes up or keep them pointed. You're looking really, you're trying to find the line of tension. So for me, I don't get much stretch with my toes up here because I can't get my knee straight. So I actually get more stretch when my foot's kind of at 45 degrees. Don't get much there. 45 degrees seems to be the sweet spot. That's where I'm going with the foot. Coming forward, same thing, body stays on the thigh. Use your body weight to push down. It's quite hard to stretch the Achilles at the back. You need quite a lot of weight on it. And then sitting back, I'm welded to my thigh. You can have the wiggle, you know, if you've been doing my sessions in the morning, I'm always wiggling, trying to find the tightest line. Where do I need to kind of hang out? Coming forward. Using the body weight to push, keeping the heel down as best I can, and coming back. Again, flexing and just trying to find that line of tension up the back of the leg in this position, and then coming back up. And then we'll go into our extension version. So staying nice and upright to start with, come forward, keeping the chest lifted. You can lean forward and tent the fingers so you can get some more body weight over the ankle. And then coming back up, sitting back down, butt to heels. This time, straight leg as you can, toes pointed up to the ceiling, hinge forward. Big stretch. Coming back up, hinging forward, or lunging forward, keeping the chest high, pushing back up, sitting down into it. Again, chest lifted, hinge at the hip. You'll know if you go right because it's a really big stretch. One last time, coming through. And then sitting back. Again, I'm getting more stretch with kind of half a floppy foot. This is kind of like, if I have my foot pulled up to the ceiling, I get quite a strong nervy feeling into the calf, which is not a bad thing. In fact, you can do point and flex here, which is like a bit of a nerve floss, if you're kind of so inclined. If you're doing this again on repeat, if you're kind of doing it, you can add in the point and flex, which I'm doing on this side because I'm getting a really strong nervy feeling down the side. You can work through it with me, or you can carry on going forward and back. Essentially, point and flexion flosses the nerve, frees it off, basically, like flossing your teeth. And then coming back through and release. So from here, I think we're all pretty good. I reckon we'll all be good with a plank. I'm going to use a plank to get into a long lunge position. So just come to all fours, fat-free plank, knees under shoulders. No, let's not go knees under shoulders. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. So fat-free plank. You might need to practice a couple of times, but your backs of your feet are flat to the floor. And if you're in a good all fours position, you should just be able to pivot over the toes, straighten one leg, pivot over the toes and straighten the other. In other words, there's no faffing about with getting your pelvis in the right position. It should just land there. You can pivot back over the toes and you should come back to a perfect all fours position. with nothing else changing. Yeah. So try the other side, pivot over the toes, straighten one leg, and then the other, and then pivot over the toes, and come back down. Fast free plank. Yeah. We're going to go up and we're going to hold it this time. So straighten one leg, straighten the other. I'm going to take a giant step forward. So right foot's going to come outside right hand. Hands are going to stay down to start with. And I'm going to do the same. It's kind of like that same pushing out to the side action, like the leg lift, but here in this position, you're peeling the foot off the floor to turn the leg out to the side. You bit me, you rat. Took a chunk out of me. Yeah. So I'm just prying open the hip in this position. Nothing too strenuous. And I'm going to bring the foot back flat. So if it's your right foot that's forward, it's the right arm that's going to lead, or the right arm that's going to move. I'm going to use the elbow as the marker for it. So I'm going to bend the elbow. So I'm bringing my hand towards my chest, or my fist towards my chest, and then I'm going to drive up to the ceiling with the elbow. So I'm rotating and twisting, elbow to ceiling. And then I'm going to twist the opposite way and leading with the elbow again, drop the elbow to the floor inside the foot. And it will get to wherever it gets to, and hold it there. The opposite elbow can bend. The knee can drop out. So ideally you want the knee to kind of stay in, but it is where it is, for me today particularly. And then drive the elbow up to the ceiling, twist and open. No dear, something to say. And then elbow down towards the floor. Elbow up towards the ceiling. Elbow down towards the floor. And then release. And you're going to step back to plank. Jiggery pokery with the legs if you need to get into a better position. And then step forward on the other side. Left foot, outside left hand. Pause in there. Same thing again. I'm just lifting the inside edge of my foot up to open the hip out to the side. And then same thing here, foot flat again, leading with the elbow, elbow to ceiling, and then dropping the elbow down to the inside, lifting up to the ceiling, rotating, twisting through, dropping the elbow down to the mat, elbow to ceiling, last one, elbow to mat. And then slowly come back to your plank and then come back to all fours as best you can. Just come down to child's pose position, big toes together, knees wide, forearms coming down, sinking the chest down. Oh, and a few deep breaths there. And then slowly come out of that. And just because I know it's Charlotte's favorite, we're going to do the pretzel because we've got a bit of extra time left. Charlotte loves this one, don't you, Charlotte? All right, so lying on your side. Top leg bends up, as for those that haven't done it before. Top leg bends up, bottom arm grabs hold of the knee. Top arm grabs hold of the ankle. It's got to be your ankle. You know, if push comes to shove, you can grab the foot. But if you can grab your ankle and flex the foot, you're just in a bit of better position. But it comes with time. It is what it is. So then using the ankle, you pull that bottom leg back behind you. So there's your hip flexor stretch again. Yeah, we've just been working tons on that. So you're pulling that back leg behind you. And then you're trying to get your top shoulder and your bottom foot, if you like, down to the mat, whilst keeping the knee down. Right, so there's got to be something that doesn't go, right? For most of us, and unless you're super bendy, there's something like, I can keep my knee down, but my foot's miles away today, for whatever reason. My chest doesn't want to open. So I'm kind of alternating between the two. I'm going to let my body kind of knee up, foot down, knee down, foot up. So you can have a little bit of a wiggle here, or you can just hold and breathe and use the out breath to just invite your body to twist a little bit further. Oh, and it works. Foot's down, knees not low. The trick with this is to control your breathing, because it is such a strong rotational stretch. Your breath might be kind of, mine does. If you can slow your breathing down and let your body kind of just relax into it. Relax. And then you know the rules. You've got to come out of this dead gently. Untwist yourself first, which will mean the top foot lifts up again, so that when you let it go, it doesn't twang away from your body, right? So no twanging allowed out of that position. You're essentially coiling yourself up like a spring. And if you just let go, well, we don't like uncontrolled movement, do we? That's where whoopsies happen. All right, so we're turning over, we're doing the other side. So there's a sneaky kind of cheat you can do as well. Instead of starting off directly on your side, so on your shoulder, like, you know, like you'd sleep in bed, just kind of work yourself around a little bit. So I've got my bottom shoulder out from under me to start with. So I'm already getting this sense of rotation before I start. Then again, top knee, bottom ankle. If you can get hold of your ankle, do. And then pull that bottom leg back behind you as best you can. You'll feel the stretch. You'll know you're in the right spot. And then again, relaxing, a stupid word in this position. Opening out to the ceiling. And breathe. You kind of want to use your exhale to deepen the stretch. No force, no flinging, but just a gentle encouragement to go a little bit further. And again, it's your choice. You can keep the knee down, you can keep the foot down. You can try for both. You can rock between the two. I can actually get both down on this side. That's a novel experience. Opening that back shoulder down towards the floor with every out breath. And then same again, unroll or roll to your side. So untwist is what I'm looking for. So the foot picks up so that when you let it go, nothing twangs away from you. And that should see us about right. 7:59, look at me and my beautiful timings. Well done, chaps, if you waded through that. How did you get on, Charlotte? Yeah, better? Anybody wants to talk to me, feel free, unmute yourself. I'm going to be extremely disappointed if I've got a kink in my hair. Just spending 70 quid on a new hair colour. It's important, this.
Looks lovely.
Right. Thanks very much. I like it.
Now do the pretzel on one side. It's just the other side that's an absolute abomination.
Abomination. I love it. We've always got one side slightly less awesome than the other. Need to do more work on that side.
That was just horrific.
Yeah, and
you can't say that, Jeff. Do you mean the entire session or just the pretzel?
No, the entire session. I think I'm like made of concrete tonight, I decided.
Yeah, it does feel like that sometimes. Were there any particular, any of you, anything particular that you really struggled with, or was it all kind of just some you could do, some you couldn't, some you felt like a rock, some you kind of felt, oh, not so bad?
for me, the limiting thing is my shoulders. Anything with it. I'm getting there and I do it, but yeah, that's the restricting thing. Even when I'm on a side plank, you know, my shoulders are battering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's building some strength in there as well, isn't it? Stability. Yeah.
I think
David?
I'll watch it back and then I can see some of the things a little bit closer because I felt like I wasn't quite getting it. But
Yeah, it's a fine line, Carol, between and this is, you know, it's a fine line between just doing individual exercises and then spending ages on that exercise, or kind of doing like a combination of movements and flowing, but you can't get the same amount of instruction into that because you're flowing through the movement. And I think when you first do it, it can feel a little bit like, I'm not sure if I'm in the right place, or I'm not sure I've got it right, etc. But as you kind of do it more and you use more flowing movements, instead of just kind of one exercise, then another, and then another, you start to, your body will just kind of, it's how your body kind of likes to move. It'll free off a little bit better than kind of that sort of start, stop, start, stop, start, stop kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of stick with it. That's where my head's at with it anyway. David, how did you get on? Was it all right?
I found it good all through. I've got a problem with a mid-back injury at the moment, which I'm hoping John will sort out tomorrow. But yeah, there was nothing in particular I found desperately difficult. I'm just not quite as flexible as you girls. That's all.
That's the plan. That's the idea behind these sessions.
Food for thought.
Everybody all right with the planky stuff?
Yeah.
Planks okay. 4-point knee hover okay.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Right. Yeah, well, aside from hating it, yeah. Well, just because it's useful to transition to other positions, you know, like we do in the morning, because you can get quite a lot of mobility through your shoulders with that transition, Charlotte. So if you're pivoting on it, yeah. Anyway, right, I'll stop waffling at you. It's got to be tea time. Thank you very much for showing up live.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Yeah.